Hello, Anke. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much, Lilu, for having me on this show. I
Thank,
really appreciate your work.
thank you so much for accepting this interview because we're going to discuss about a very important topic, which is the heart, the intelligence of our heart. Can you tell us? Can you tell us about this heart? It's more than this physical thing that we have in our body, isn't it?
Oh, it's so much more. I like to always bring Rumi into it, the Sufi poet Rumi, because he's such a master of describing it and inviting us into, our own hearts. And he talks about relationship. And when a relationship is sacred, there's this sense of you, and then there's me. And also there's a third invisible element that holds us together. And it's that invisible element, what is it? What is it that shows up when we love each other deeply? So how do we cultivate it? How do we bring it into every moment in our lives and every interaction? And that's really the interest that I have. And Rumi inspires us. He really inspires us to look deep into the recesses of the heart, what he calls the rose at the center of the mystery. And that's the pure heart. That's the pure heart, and its path is the path of love.
So our heart has actually different layers. It's multi-layered.
Yes, I think we can talk about it as, a physical heart, certainly, also an energetic heart, and a spiritual heart. And you can't distinguish one from the other. There's been so much research already. There's a wonderful institute called the Institute of Heart Math. I don't know if you have come
Yes.
across them, but they have, done great research and really shown how our own emotions can really affect everything in our life. The heart isn't just a pump. It allows you to clarify, to be emotionally present. If the heart rate variability is really on an even keel and emotions like appreciation and compassion, are in your life, then there's a great and profound influence on all of the aspects of your physiology and emotional life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think everybody can
So,
sense that. I think it's quite obvious right now, even in this interview, that you're speaking from the heart. I'm pretty sure everybody watching this right now can feel a lot more grounded just in the 2 minutes of this video. It's pretty amazing. So tell us, how do you shift from your mind intellect to your heart intellect?
well, mind intelligence, seems to be the root of a lot of suffering in our life. And we're always really promoting this sense of I or me or mine. And especially the Buddhist tradition asks us to really see what that's about. What's the root of this mind dissatisfaction that's always moving, and it cannot be still, because it's the stillness in the heart that really is the magic in our life. And so there are many beautiful traditions on the planet that speak to how do we work with the mind and allow it to relax. Allow it to relax so that heart intelligence can step forward.
Mm.
And, the Buddhists have a great philosophy that they've developed where we can see that the mind is constantly really interested in what is my hope and what is my fear. And there's a very interesting dance between those two. And so I use a lot of the Buddhist philosophy and psychology, to bring some understanding to what is really going on. How is it that we keep trying to promote ourselves? And because that is very crushing to the heart. And then the tradition, the Sufi tradition, is so very much, is really a path of love.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, in that tradition, you have, I would say, more of a direct experience. You know, the Sufis, they're lovers. And so to bring Sufism and Buddhism together, it builds a bridge, and one beautiful tradition informs the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, how do we do it? We keep wondering, what is it that we can do? And I think it has a lot to do with the ability to magnetize the heart field to such an extent that it becomes the organizing principle of our life. You know, so there are ways that the Sufis do it. There are ways that the Buddhists do it. Many other traditions have their ways. And I have found that working with light technology is also a great plus. You might wonder, you know, what does light technology have to do with the heart? Well, when you are using light technology, and the way you do it, Lilo, is you introduce color.
Can you tell us, what is light technology?
Yeah. What you do is you work with an instrument. The instrument I like to work with is called a spectral receptivity trainer. It was developed by my mentor, Dr. Jacob Lieberman. And you are sitting in the presence of about 20 different frequencies of light or color. And they're moving into the photocurrent pathways in the brain. And they are working primarily with 3 different photocurrent pathways. One goes to the hypothalamus, the other one bypasses the visual cortex into the cerebral cortex, but the one I'm most interested in is the limbic system, where we keep playing the same story over and over again. It's the mind's obsession. And color has a way of stopping the story. It has a way of dissolving the solidity that the mind is so insistent. You know, the mind tries to protect. And the heart knows that it doesn't need protection. So there's this constant back and forth between mind and heart. And in the light technology, the light decrystallizes what the mind has decided at some point in our life was not acceptable. And so it created a resistance in the system. And it solidified that life experience and created like a blockage. And that particular blockage is, it becomes more fluid in the presence of light. And so light actually begins to dissolve the obstacles to our closed heart. So I like to work with that technology in combination with the various traditions.
That's very interesting. How come the colors get through? That's so amazing.
Well, there's you know, the color theory. It's based on Digliotti Denshaw's work, and color theory shows you how that each life experience actually has a frequency, and that frequency can be also described as a color. And so when you're sitting in the presence of that color, it acts homeopathically to begin to address the issues within that color range or life range that you have not been able to digest. So it begins to dissolve them.
So we could be deficient in some colors. Like
we could be deficient.
Bringing a color, like for example green, if we're lacking green, then bringing the green will help heal some aspects.
Yes, it's actually quite specific. The theory is based on interlocking triangles, and I'm going to try to describe it very briefly, but I think it's going to be very clear. You have interlocking triangles, you know, an upper and a lower triangle. And Denshaw actually arranged all of the colors around these interlocking triangles for a very specific reason. For example, the green that you just spoke about, that is at the tip of the upper triangle. At the bottom of the lower triangle is magenta, And then all the other colors are arranged around the tips and between the tips. So this begins to work with your life experiences. And after quite a number of years, I began to discover that green, for example, also cultivates the emotion of appreciation. Magenta cultivates compassion. Yellow, yellow is the forgiveness in our heart, and then the humility, that moment where we realize that we don't really know. That's the blue. And so all of these colors have emotional components, and sitting in the presence of them cultivates the expressions of the heart. So it is, I believe the technology is very beneficial when you are working with, what can I do here to continue to open the heart? Because it's very difficult. The social mind is so insistent that we protect ourselves, that we promote ourselves, and that we, have the motivation always for me. And so working with the color actually promotes allowing you to become a much clearer broadcast station for love and appreciation and compassion in your life.
So how can we apply that in our own life? How can we discover the color that would help us to open our heart further? Can we do this ourselves, or do we need to work with a professional?
Well, you can work with a professional, you can work with a light instrument, but you can also become your own light instrument. And actually, that's what I'm most interested in, is you becoming a light instrument. And so just if you do the most simple exercise, which is to begin to experience yourself.
Hello, Anke. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much, Lilu, for having me.